Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am Mungo, and I work for Global, specifically on DAX, and I have the pleasure of bringing you our programmatic power panel this afternoon. And we're going to consider a range of areas of programmatic outdoor. We're going to look at the current position of programmatic across Europe. That's the area that we're focusing on. We're going to look at the challenges and the opportunities that we've been experiencing along the journey. And we're going to look at what might accelerate the growth of programmatic in the future. So some really fascinating areas to cover, to talk through, and to help navigate these questions. I'm delighted to have a really experienced panel of leaders in the market. And so let me introduce you to our panel this afternoon. I've got for you Jean-Christopher Conti, CEO of VIOOH, Adam Green, SVP and GM of Programmatic Platforms at Broadsign, Nikki Hawke, CMO at Hivestack, and Keni Bernadin, co-founder and CEO of LiveDOOH, recently amalgamating with Signkick. So a terrific panel, a really experienced, and helpfully we're going to walk through some great areas of programmatic advertising this afternoon. So I thought just to start, we'd ask each of them, first of all, to tell us a little bit about their business, just so that everyone can understand exactly what they do and where they sit in the market. And then, because we're focusing on Europe, to answer a view on, when you're looking at the European market, which countries are making the greatest strides in programmatic outdoor advertising, and what is it that's helping to make that happen? What's driving those things through? So where should we start? Adam, perhaps you'd start for us.
Certainly. Thanks, Mungo. So I'm Adam Green. I'm from a company called Broadsign. If you haven't heard of us, we build a variety of solutions for the out-of-home industry, both digital and static, ranging from content management systems to schedule management, sales tools, and the like. As mentioned, I'm the general manager of our programmatic platforms business, which covers our SSP, which is called Reach, and our DSP, which is called Campsite, not yet launched in Europe, unfortunately, on the DSP side. So to answer your first question, we're really excited about the progress we've seen in Europe in general. For us, at least, it has very much been led by the Netherlands and Germany over the past several years. Although in the last, call it 12 to 18 months, we've seen fantastic progress in some other nationalities as well: Spain, France, Italy, and the UK. The places that we've seen leapfrog ahead have very much been driven by endemic players on the buy side and eager major players on the sell side. So if you have people on both sides who are willing to come together and trade, then we see a vibrant marketplace. And it's very much driven by those two things. Other markets where we see only one side very excited about it, they tend to lag a little bit behind.
Great. Nikki, perhaps you'd introduce us to yourself and give us your view on where we think the European market currently is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mungo, and thank you for having me. It's so fabulous to be with such amazing heads of industry here. My background is actually a consumer marketer, so I've bought out of home for years, 20 plus years, and then I worked for one of the programmatic pioneers, based out of the UK. And I'm so excited to be part of Hivestack now, which is a global full stack ad tech company powering both the buy and sell side of programmatic digital out of home. So we have not only a DSP, an SSP, also an ad server and an ad exchange, but attribution for Hivestack is like a first-class citizen. So we're really offering both buyers and sellers the ability to measure business outcomes through all stages of the consumer funnel. So I'm really excited about, what we're doing in the marketplace globally. For us, I have to agree with Adam, like we're seeing very similar things in the European market, but I would put UK up there as also one of the key growth markets for us. We see Germany, the UK, and Benelux as key players and really leading EMEA overall, with France just right behind them, quickly followed by Spain and Italy. I think overall, similar to what Adam said, I find similarly that if buyers want to start buying programmatic digital out of home, then the media owners and publishers very quickly come on board, because they also want to ensure that they have the opportunity to have those screens purchased across the marketplace.
Fabulous. Yeah, really good. And Jean-Christophe, maybe I can call you JC, if that's okay. Perhaps you'd give us your view as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mungo, and obviously equally very pleased to be with you guys. I would say that VIOOH, because I'm the CEO of VIOOH, VIOOH is essentially an SSP supply-side platform, which is meant obviously to develop the programmatic trading in the out-of-home industry. We've been operating in 14 markets. We will be operating in 18 markets by the end of the year. And we definitely put a lot of efforts and resources to developing a vibrant ecosystem where both digital buyers and digital sellers can actually trade in the best kind of possible way. Back to your question, I would say on the global basis, obviously the US by far, but if we now try to drill down into Europe, very, very clearly from our point of view, the German market and the UK market have the greatest potential. That's by far the case. Then we've got some mid-sized markets which have been actually really, really strong, thinking about the Netherlands, thinking about Belgium. We are obviously also seeing markets in Southern Europe, like Italy and Spain, who have embraced it in a pretty strong way. Still, the value is still not there from a size standpoint, but we are very confident that it's going to develop. So pretty much in the same way, it's about evangelization. It's about really helping buyers and sellers to feel comfortable about trading, but we are very bullish about the trend here.
Great. And Keni, you've brought two companies together, and I know you're also operating in a number of markets. Be great to have your views.
Thank you, Mungo. Yes, maybe just shortly about LiveDOOH Signkick. We operate an automation platform for media owners. We have clients around the world in several different verticals, and what we allow them to do with our platform is to really optimize their revenues, monetize their networks better, and also connect flexibly to all the different types of programmatic demand that are available today. So our company, our offering is really a combination. You have a CMS, powerful ad server, player software, everything you need, multifaceted SSP, but also open direct connections and self-service capability. So we're a proud member of the World Out of Home organization for several years now, and really happy also to be on this panel today. Thanks for having us. Now, to your question, I think there's no big surprise. I'm also going to agree with the others that the drivers from our view are more or less the Netherlands and the UK for different reasons. So the Netherlands has been trading programmatically to a higher volume than the other markets already for a while. And that's because of good presence of some key actors there, DSPs and SSPs, and also media owners that have been trading there in that fashion for a while. Why I'm talking about the UK is you have to see it as programmatic. For us, for our understanding, it's a bit general also the term, because there are the DSP, SSP connections where you can trade in RTB or guaranteed fashion, but also the connections, the open direct fashion connections to the big trading platforms of the big agencies such as Talon, Kinetic, Posterscope in the UK. So if you see that as programmatic, the UK has been actually a pretty strong driver to get these connections up and running. And the only reason we're not seeing this really going forward as fast is, okay, there have been some hiccups last year for obvious reasons, but we really believe this is going to pick up. Maybe at the end also, yes, of course, Germany, Italy, Spain, etc. are picking up also. There's a number of private marketplaces out there. So if you consider that also as programmatic, then that completes the picture.
So I think we've all got some experience and a viewpoint from a technical position and from a desire to sell a product. But I guess the real question for us is, what does this mean for an advertiser? I mean, why should they think about using programmatic to achieve their marketing objectives in outdoor, as opposed to a more traditional method of selecting and placing their ad campaigns? JC, do you have a view on that? How is it that an advertiser would choose programmatic? What really drives them to do that?
This is a key question in Mungo. I would say there are many a few reasons we could be thinking of. The first one is, I don't believe that the modern advertiser or chief marketing officers should think about silos, which means that they don't want to have a budget pre-allocated to each media. They should think about holistic. And the best way to trade a campaign on an holistic basis, which means combine media that can actually bond well together and create a 1 + 1 = 3 factor, you need to have a programmatic approach, which is going to make that much smoother, much easier to some extent. Because then you've got data you can track and you can invest more or change the way you're going to be leveraging your spend. So that's the first thing. That's more of a multimedia holistic approach. The second topic, frankly, big change and big reason why in this lockdown kind of time, programmatic has been benefiting a lot is the flexibility. The buyers programmatically decide for each impression or each set of impression whether they want to buy or not. Therefore, he's not in a dimension where he has to commit 3 months in advance, where the market trends or conditions may radically change because of whatever else and safety kind of conditions or change in rules. And that is a huge advantage to some extent. And I would say lastly, just like for the other medium, right? It's about data-driven decisioning. In the programmatic world, you can actually leverage data, not just the data on the sell side, but also on the buy side. You can apply triggers, which means, for example, you can leverage if your campaign will be even more relevant because it will be showing during the hay fever time, if you're a big lab selling, meaning a medic that's going to help you to cope with this condition, which is my case. If there is no pollen index, you don't care. If there is pollen index really high, this is where you want to be. Challenge is you cannot anticipate where pollen index will be high in advance. Here, you can reactively buy by the hour or in real time, depending on where the pollen index is high. It's automated, and that's one of the biggest value. We've got also example of Renault Zoe, which is their electric car, which has been advertised in Brussels when the air condition level was the worst, because that's when obviously you would be thinking, gosh, I need to switch into an electric car. So you've got here additional level of relevancy, which is contextual relevancy, and definitely very, very useful. These, I think, are the 3 big logics why an advertiser would consider programmatic trading in out-of-home.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, maybe also, and completely agree with JC here. We also see it removing the friction from the buying process and actually helping to achieve better outcomes for the advertisers themselves by basing on real-time first and third-party data. But also, let's not forget, there's another component also, which is the creative execution, the creative management itself. And if you look at programmatic in a wider context, that's really very relevant. And that's where also programmatic can help a lot, really delivering the right creative at the right time, the right audience. This is something that you can very hardly achieve with manual execution. So actually programmatic in that sense really complements, it gives the advertiser the power to use manual booking when they need to, programmatic booking when they really need to really get their campaigns across to the right audiences.
So it's definitely a more flexible approach, and it allows different types of execution. I guess, and Nikki, maybe you have a view on this. Thinking about it, is it just about advertisers who are already interested in using out of home to achieve their marketing objectives? Or does the fact that programmatic exists and is developing mean that those advertisers who previously would not have thought outdoor was appropriate reevaluate that and start to think how they might be able to engage in this medium?
By the way, I have to say I agree with both what JC and what you guys both said, and Kenny. I would say, honestly, for me, it's both. I mean, I think programmatic enables digital out of home in a new way, which will be clearly of huge interest to people that already spend in out of home. I mean, I can speak from myself as a marketer. A lot of the times when I would do a big campaign, that even if it was an acquisition campaign, you know, we would buy out of home to create like brand awareness and mass reach. Now, as a marketer and a buyer with programmatic digital out of home, there's really a huge opportunity to make the medium really measurable. So not only are spenders wanting that flexibility and measurement and smarter buying, I really see it as an incremental capability to the medium overall. And I think it's really exciting. We know that, you know, the top 100 advertisers in the world, or even all the Fortune 500 companies, generally buy out of home. It's always part of the media mix. It really is. You know, since early days, it is proven as a very strong brand awareness play. And now programmatic digital out of home provides those brands and agencies an opportunity to really, you know, utilize all the things that programmatic and digital buying has brought to the table in the medium. So, you know, we feel it's a really exciting time for it, and it's an incremental play for the space.
Yeah, to add to that, we see it borne out in the data as well. So we conducted some studies on campaigns that have been running since the beginning of the pandemic, and we found that 2/3 of them are either totally new advertisers or new budgets from existing advertisers in the top 100, as Nikki mentioned, who love the medium, love the giant canvas, but needed a way to buy that meshed better with how they buy the rest of their media plan, as JC mentioned in the previous question. So it's actually borne out in the data. We're seeing those come true.
So when you see that, trying to bring programmatic alongside the other purchase, Adam, that you're mentioning there, and you think of how you use potentially a DSP to come and purchase your out-of-home advertising. The reality is that there are a number of differences in the way that we have to physically manage our own medium. Things like copy clearance, the way in which we calculate the audience that actually sees the panel, the way that we verify that the screen has actually played the ad. These are a range of nuances that apply to our medium. How easy is it to bring those into a platform that enables the client to purchase alongside their other media choices? Or in other words, the omni-channel type of DSP, are they ready for that set of differences? Are they trying to shoehorn it into what they already have? Or are those people who are bringing a more bespoke approach better able to service the needs of clients?
That's an excellent question. It's hard to talk about the omni-channels and paint them with one brush, right? They're a diverse group of companies, but you're right. They do have to accommodate the weirdness of out of home, as it were. And some of them are better at it than others. Digital is obviously, in general, an audience-first medium. a lot of them might have geo-context laid on top of that as a platform, whereas out-of-home is a geocontextual medium, increasingly with audience layered on top of it. So it's hard for them, absolutely. But we see it in the data. A lot of the big guys are in here trading. We see Trade Desk, Verizon, MediaMath, a lot of these endemic omnichannels to digital are coming into our space. Some of them have an easier time of it than others, depending on how well they have built out their workflows around geo-context and around other media. But as we see it on our platforms, the share that those omnichannels are making up of our transaction flow has increased literally every month over the last 2 years. And I have no reason to think that that won't continue. These are smart multinational companies, and the SSPs, so all of us here on this panel, are also doing our part to accommodate the weirdness of out-of-home for them and abstract them away from that.
Yeah, and Kenny, you mentioned the programmatic being also about traditional connections as well as perhaps a DSP connection, and you're involved in this area as well. Do you have a thought on that?
Yes. So actually, we see that it's an interesting question with online advertisement, digital out-of-home advertisement, classic out-of-home advertisement. So there is actually a combined play there. And, you know, I totally agree with Adam, for example, that even in the online world, things like copy clearance, restrictions, etc., they're not really completely unified. So I don't see this as a world where we're yet in this phase where we can completely unify all of that and have that really standardized across all these different channels. But you know, I think that technology is really evolving actually at an exponential rate now in this industry. And so I have no doubt that actually from the standards and technology will be there soon. But the bigger question is, should that be unified and seen as one single thing where it sits, you know, in for example, one omnichannel DSP? I think online is a different medium than digital out-of-home. And I think also that, for example, there will always be a need for classic out-of-home posters because they'll be in the mix, and there are lots of media owners that still keep using them. So the question is, how can these things be managed? How can they be managed complementarily? So for example, if you look at what's happening now with the Open Direct standard, it is actually there to already allow buying classic and digital out-of-home, both of them. So there are differences in the execution that you need to be aware of. If you're going to execute, for example, a classic out-of-home campaign for posters across 10,000s of screens, and you need to optimize, you know, the outcome for the advertiser, you have a problem. You have to handle all of these problems. But as in out-of-home generally, not in digital, data about audiences, transparency, verification, etc., all of this really become more and more available. You're going to see that there's more and more a drive for programmatic execution to book, to manage, to execute these using this data for advertisers that really want to have a mixed campaign, both in digital and on classic panels, and maybe also in the online medium. So that's going to be actually a big strength for programmatic buying to really allow these executions across the board.
And I guess linked to that is the challenge of the fact that digital as a whole is taking an increasingly high share of money coming into the out-of-home medium. And we've seen that over a number of years in the UK and in other markets. But how much is that growth and indeed the growth of programmatic limited to the rate at which digital units are being put into the ground? We've seen an enormous increase in those units over the last few years. If that rate of new digital coming into the market doesn't keep going, is that a barrier to the growth of programmatic, or do we have enough in the ground that it's going to provide enough clients with enough opportunities to achieve their goals currently?
Well, maybe then just short update to what I said. I actually think it's an opportunity and not a limiter, because I think that as soon as programmatic, and I see that in a wider way, programmatic booking, buying, and execution, as soon as that gets more into also allowing execution on the classic side and not just on the digital side, there's going to be a massive demand for programmatic execution there also. So I see this, you know, as a holistic view and actually as an enabler and driver for programmatic.
I absolutely agree with Keni here. Absolutely agree with Keni here. I think that to some extent, the industry and the media owners do not have a lot of choice, right? Meaning, if we really step back and look at the industry, it's pretty much pre-COVID time, a 35, 38 billion overall from an ad spend global level, right? Industry. If you compare that with the overall ad spend going to digital media, 315, 320 billion. Meaning, if we want to grow the 5 or 6% overall share we are getting from the global ad spend online, offline, we need to capture more money coming from digital buyers. And to be able to do that, you need digital screens. Now, the key question, Mungo, you're right. Advertisers want to buy, they want to be educated, and DSPs, SSPs doing their best to help that. Media owners need to do their fair share, which is to invest. And that's a CapEx effort, which is not definitely easy to do in a COVID sort of time frame, right? But if they project themselves, it's absolutely obvious that a digital screen will cost much more than a paper traditional frame. But at the end of the day, the rotation of the inventory will be much faster. And instead of just selling a brand for 1 week or 2 weeks, and even very highly trafficked part of a city, they will be selling 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 different advertisers, which going to make the campaign cheaper and which going to diversify the medium and the brand and the messaging. And I guess they're going to be able to enlarge the pool of players who are going to be able to advertise there. So a lot of benefits. There is a cost. I would say it's an investment.
Yeah, yeah. So if we're looking forward, you know, Nikki, I mean, is there a world in which digital outdoor is only purchasable programmatically? You know, do we think we can get to a position where all digital is bought sort of immediately in a way that online is more so, rather than these big planned campaigns? Do you think it will go that far?
I mean, I can't speak 10 years down the road, but if you look at, you know, where we are in programmatic overall, I mean, it represents about 80 to 90% of digital spend today globally on regular digital channels. So, you know, we're bullish. Obviously, this is like the power of programmatic panel. So we feel 50% will probably be bought programmatically in the next 3 years. We really do feel this is a huge opportunity for the industry. And, you know, to JC's point, it is a big investment for media owners. We understand that we're coming off, you know, a difficult 18 months, but we do believe that brands and advertisers are going to be spending in this medium. And as we also just discussed, omni-channels are really strongly coming into this space. And it's going to make it a lot easier for brands and agencies to buy holistically across all of those digital channels. So we just see it ramping, and we just feel there's a huge opportunity in the space, and it's just going to continue to grow.
We're sort of coming towards the end of our discussion. It's been absolutely fascinating to see where we are. But before we leave, I guess there's just a question of what would it take to accelerate the industry's provision technically, and accelerate the client's desire to purchase? You know, if we're on a journey and we wanted to make that journey go faster, what is it that could happen that would do that? Perhaps you'd all have a quick thought on that. And Keni, could I start with you, and then maybe I'll invite the others just to have a sort of closing thought on that.
Right. So in my view, accelerating the spread of programmatic out of home, actually, we need to keep doing what we see happening now. You know, adding more audience addressability, transparency, automatic execution, end-to-end with creative management. So what will it do? It'll just, you know, make it a real true digital medium that can compare to out of home, mobile, online, etc. But the key point for me is just this complete customer journey. It's the complementary nature of out-of-home to other channels. So, you know, you target a person at home on their tablet, then you retarget them on a classic billboard on the street, then you target them also on the shop, inside the shop window, the digital screen. Then when they're inside, you retarget them on mobile. And programmatic will allow to execute these cross-channel campaigns. And so that'll massively make a big case for programmatic out-of-home to really take its place as an essential part of the media mix and not just something added on top.
Yeah, understand. Adam.
I think Kenny's right on there. And to that, I would say this is going to be the catalyst for us to have to standardize audience measurement, particularly count, within the industry. We have a lot of measurement boards, a lot of measurement methods. There's a huge diversity there, and it only sows confusion and in some cases distrust amongst the buy side.
Yeah, it's a tricky area, isn't it, to manage that. To deal with it in the way that other mediums would want it, but also even to amalgamate it in a consistent way across markets and countries.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, but I think we're going to have to do it.
Yeah, Nikki, do you have just a final thought on that?
No, I mean, I think this is a great start because I think, you know, some of us on this panel are partners and some of us are competitors, but as an industry, we need to come together and educate and really be the leaders on all sides of the business. I mean, you know, we already know that programmatic overall is still doesn't have the knowledge it should with many marketers. I mean, agencies have sort of taken over trying to educate their clients and showing them the benefits from the measurement and data capabilities. But this team here and others in the industry, we need to come together like a team did with the DPAA standardization and other things, you know, IDFA, many topics that are coming up across the board around data, and just really help educate and work together on making sure that we are really championing this medium, which has a huge opportunity for brands and brands globally. And I'm really excited about it.
And JC, do you agree with that the collaboration is one of the things that could make things accelerate and go a little bit faster?
Totally. Frankly, I think that we cannot have the luxury to really compete against ourselves here, meaning the real competition is the other medium which are getting the lion's share of the digital ad spend. So if we look from that angle, meaning we need to work all together to have some change in the industry, which are really going to make first the buyer more at ease and happy, meaning to spend, and that goes with measurement, as Adam mentioned, and as Nikki also mentioned about the attribution. Buyers want to know where they're going to spend. And it's also going to help, obviously, the media owner to invest more easily because they're going to see a shorter kind of return in terms of their investment into digital screens. And at the end of the day, we need to give the good reasons to the CMO to rebalance their media spend. Right now, too big of a share goes into activation media when they should be spending more into branding media. Out-of-home is the unique media in itself. It's a broadcast media showing your ad in the heart of the city in the bigger than life screen. At the end of a COVID time where everybody was stuck at home, well, let me tell you something. CMOs need to rethink a bit more and spend a bit less on search and more on the screens in the heart of the streets.
Thank you so much, everyone. Some really great thoughts. Nikki, Kenny, JC, Adam, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I'm sorry we can't talk for longer, but our time is up. And I look forward to continuing to walking on the journey with you as we progress in this area. Thank you very much, the Programmatic Power Panel.
Thank you.
Thank
This is fantastic. Thank you so much. Great to be with you all.